From the editor of the West Mind podcast, it's recommended to listen to the West Mind podcast at 2x speed for the enjoyment of your listening experience. Hello, it's me, Clinton, and this is the West Mind podcast. I'm so glad you're here. How are you? How has your week been? I'm so glad you're here. Still prevails. I don't know what else to say to you when you come in, like for the first time, but I'm so glad you're here. So we'll keep that in. Today is improvements. Like for improvements, I did improvements last year and I said I was going to pick a topic or like pick something in my life and improve on it within 28 days. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have like 13 episodes ready for you, like 13 episodes like set for 2025. But as the as the months were going in 2024, I decided to switch improvements to one improvement a month. So knowing what I'm gonna like improve on that month. For the first 19 days of 2025, I was meant to be on a calorie deficit, and I knew I was meant to be on a calorie deficit, but I did not do it. And I started my calorie deficit on the 20th of January. So last week, Monday. Today's the 8th day of my calorie deficit. So today's this 27th of January. And yeah, I'll tell you what happened quickly. And I'm making a YouTube video on my calorie deficit. But last week I started it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna stick to it. I thought it was gonna be I thought it was gonna be hard at the beginning because like usually when I do it, like I think a lot about food, but this time I did not think of food in any way. And the way I the way I planned out my food schedule was really helpful to me, and like everything that I was doing in my life at that point or last week was really helpful, and I thought I would be able to do it. And unfortunately yesterday I bought like things I shouldn't have. Like I bought something I should have not bought. Like I bought Twix yesterday and a Twix and Jacob's crackers and a 7 Up Zero. And I was so disappointed and I ate it. And I did not, like, obviously, I did not film that on my YouTube video. But on the YouTube video, every single day, I just, like, spoke about the stuff I was doing. And the YouTube video is, like, 10 days. Like, the first 10 days of I'm not even calling it calorie deficit, of my food control. And yeah, I don't know what the video is going to be called yet. I wait till I edit the videos before I name the videos for my YouTube videos. But for the podcast, sometimes the titles are like what breeds, whatever I speak, whatever I say, sorry. But yeah, today is the 8th day, but yesterday was the 7th day, and I bought something and I was so disappointed. But I don't know. I like before I would like feel really bad and like take laxatives and try as much as possible to like, get rid of every single thing had I had eaten when I'm not in control, because I feel when, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but whenever I'm on a calorie deficit or whenever I'm like trying to control what I'm eating and I feel like I succumb to the temptation, and this episode is going to speak about food temptation, I panic and go buy, like, honestly, there's always a laxative in my bag, there's always a laxative in my room. I always panic and like take as much laxative as possible so I could like poop everything out. And it's so funny, but it's really, yeah. Okay, today's episode is called controlled eating. I'll tell you what I've been doing for the last 8 days, and why I believe I love controlling what I eat and knowing what I eat, because it gives me a sense of peace when I know, oh, I'm eating X amount of calories and this is going to help me lose weight, or oh, I'm eating X amount of calories and this is going to help me maintain my current weight, or oh, I'm eating X amount of calories. Like, the fact that I don't know what I'm eating gives me great unhappy. Like, it makes me feel so unhappy, and I'm like, especially the calories. The fact that I don't know what calories is on a food item or like a meal makes me really uncomfortable. And whenever I don't know like the amount of calories, or if I've eaten past, when I feel I've eaten past my allotted calories for myself, I stop checking, because I know if I check the number, I will not feel good about myself. So sometimes, so, but knowing the number really helps me with the way I feel about that certain food, if that makes sense. And like in the past, I would never, honestly, like 2 years ago, I would never eat fried egg. In the past, I would never, like in 2 years ago, I would never eat fried eggs because did not like the amount of calories fried egg I had, because I was like, oh, I could just like fry my egg without oil and have less calories. Or it got to a point where I was like, I wouldn't like when I started hating eggs because of the yolk, and I started getting only egg whites, and because of like it's not funny, because of the egg white calories, I thought, oh, I can have as much eggs as I wanted at that time. But now it's better. I saw a video, and I'm reading a book right now. I told you last 2 weeks. I forgot to say the book. I'm gonna say this at the end again, but I forgot to tell you the book I read last week, and I'm so sorry. I'm gonna like give you the list of every single book I have been reading for the last 2 weeks. It's four, I think, and I'll tell you the books I'm currently reading. But I read a book called Determined by Robert Kaczynski. I'm really bad at pronouncing his name, but yeah. Um, and he says in the book, it's like tells you your cravings are the reason why you crave certain foods because of your microbiome. And I saw a TikTok video, and the person was like, "Oh, to like fix your microbiome, just because I thought honestly." I went on Amazon when I found out, oh, your microbiome controls your cravings. I went on Amazon and I tried to order antibiotics, but they don't sell antibiotics on Amazon. So I was like, oh, how would I get rid of this evil bacteria in my tummy right now that is making me crave these horrible foods? So I was scrolling on TikTok, and this guy was like, oh, if you like eat yogurt, they have like good microbiomes. So I did like 4 days of like eating yogurt. So like the first 4 days of my calorie deficit had yogurt until I had like a good microbiome, and I was not craving anything as much as I was for like the first 19 days of 2025. And if you watch the video that's coming out, the video is coming out on the 31st of January 2025. I think I say this in one of the first 3 days. Like, I don't feel like the cravings I felt like a week ago, which was the week before I started it. And it was really strange to me until, yeah. So yogurt works. Yesterday I had really bad food, so I'm gonna get yogurts today. Now to what I eat now. So I make these chocolate oat muffins, and this is how I make it. There's a shop in the UK where I live called Tesco, and they have like Tesco's form of mixed chocolate cake, like cupcake batter. You can use any cupcake batter. I buy that, and then I buy 500 grams protein. yogurt. And then I use 100 grams of egg whites. And then I use baking powder. And then water. Mix it until it looks like cake batter. Then put it in a silicone cupcake tin. Bake it for 15 to 20 minutes. And that's what I have in the morning. And the time I've allotted for that is from 7 till, no, I put 8, sorry, from 8 till 12 for the cupcake. And for that, I called it first meal and second meal, so I don't call it like breakfast and dinner. For my second meal, it's a tub, like a big tub of rice or pasta with beans, vegetables, and vegan chicken or vegan beef, and a fried egg. Yeah. But this week I'm doing a boiled egg, but last week I did a fried egg, so yeah, that's what I've been eating. And I think I'm just gonna like interchange the pasta and the rice recipe. And the recipe is rice, like brown rice. For the pasta, it's also whole wheat pasta, not like white pasta, but like whole wheat pasta. Um, the same method. 1,000 grams of mixed vegetable frozen, 2,000 grams of sweet corn, 1,500 grams of minced vegetarian meat, which is from corn, or the chicken mince, 1,500 grams. Five, no, 6 tins of black beans or any form of beans or chickpea, and salt and seasoning of your choice. That's what I do. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. Yeah, that's all I do in it, and it's a lot, and it like fills my tummy for like the whole day. And I saw a video yesterday. This is when I saw this video yesterday, and I was so disappointed in myself when I like ate that food last night. But whatever. I saw this video yesterday, and this guy was like, "Oh, the reason why people feel tired is because they eat at 9 or like 10, and then go to bed, and they wake up again and they eat again." And he was like, "Oh, you're when you sleep, you're like you eat before you go to bed, and then your body uses all of its energy to like digest your food. Like you should not eat like 6 hours before you go to bed." So that's why my new eating time for like later at night is like from 4 till 7, unless I get home late or unless I don't take my food with me. So I've started taking my food with me. If I'm going to work, I'll take my food with me. I don't know about uni yet, because if I'm going to uni, I'm not taking my food with me. But for work, I'm taking my food with me. And yeah, I feel when you have control over what you eat, it's, for me at least, it gives me a sense of peace when I know I'm eating X and I don't have to like decide on what to eat. And for the longest time, or for the last year, I've wanted, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, or maybe I never said this on the podcast, but I wanted to have like a signature meal, like a meal I can go back to, because if you sit with me or stay with me or like live with me, you see I only eat a certain type of food. Obviously, every single person is like the same. Like we like what we like, and we just eat our favorite types of food. And n- I I don't want it to be like a group of food anymore. I just want it to be like this meal. This is what I have for like my food for the rest of my life, or for the next 5 years, and maybe I could incorporate something new to my meal the next 5 years. Who knows? Or maybe I'll eat that for the rest of my life. But I truly enjoy this meal and it tastes good. It makes me feel good. I hate it when I tell someone I'm eating only one meal. Like I only eat my meal. I only eat this type of meal, and they like criticize it. I'm like, shh. I'm gonna start telling people to shut up because yeah, it's not your food. It's not your tummy. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you should like tell somebody what to. I don't think you should talk. I hate talking about food to people when people are like, "Oh, what's your best pizza?" I'm like, or your favorite pizza. I'm like, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stop answering those questions now. I don't want to answer this type of questions. Those type of questions are not fulfilling to me. I don't care about telling you about my favorite pizza. I don't care about pizza. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Control for me, it works for me. And if I don't control what I eat, I know I will overeat and gain weight, and that's not my goal ever to gain weight. I don't like the look of being a bigger person. I don't like the way it looks. I don't think for me it's part of my aesthetic or the where's my mind aesthetic. Um, yeah. Okay, that's all I was gonna say today. I yeah. Sometimes I'm like, who's listening to this? I know who's listens to this. Me on Thursdays. I listen to my podcast every Thursday. I like okay, let's okay, the episode is over, but like I'm starting stuff. But like I remember when I started this podcast, when the topic is over, then I start blabbering. But um I listen to my episodes on Thursdays, but I've been finding it really difficult because it exists in like four different platforms now. Yeah. So on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, obviously, and one other platform. And it's everywhere you can listen to podcasts, obviously. I can't remember the other one I get notifications from. I've not opened that platform for like over a year now. But for Spotify, I don't use Spotify to listen to my podcast. Not my podcast, like the podcast I listen to, my favorite podcast. I use Apple Podcasts to listen to my favorite podcasts. But Where's My Mind is also an Apple podcast. But Where's My Mind is also on YouTube. And because YouTube has like the views public, like available to the public, I tend to like prioritize watching the podcast on YouTube now, and on Apple Podcasts I don't listen to the podcast as much and like there anymore, like even Spotify. But yeah, yeah. If you're listening to this, if you've listened to this point, thank you so much for listening to the Where's My Mind podcast. Yeah. Okay, let's do books because I forgot to do my book. Like let me see if I've spoken about everything I was going to speak about. Yeah, I forgot to tell you my book for last week, and I read. I think I read two books last week, and I read like the week before, and I read two books this week or three books this week. Who knows? So I'm just going to tell you the books I've read because I have all of the books plus the book I'm reading right now. The three books I'm reading right now in here. So I'm just whatever. I read The Neighbor by Renita De Selva. I read The Woman in Coach D by Sarah Denzel. I read One for Sorrow by Sarah Denzel, and I read Thinspo by Amy Ellis. So those are all the books I've read so far. I don't know how many books I've read, but I think six or seven. I don't know. But yeah, January was a good year. That's crazy. January was a good month. Everything. I think January is a good month. It's just chill. Nothing big happened and nothing like grandiose happened. Big and grandiose mean the same thing. Um, yeah, January was a good month. I'll speak to you in 5 years. I'll speak to you in February. Um, oh yeah, the podcast is 3 years now. I forgot. I forgot. I forgot. I forgot. You see, yeah. I just think I think when you do things a lot, you just you forget when like the milestones are happening. Like yes, like the podcast being 3 years is like a big milestone, but yeah, I don't know. I think when you're used to like recording every week, you forget those type of stuff. Like when I did like the 100th episode, I did not notice until I was like, oh, I think the 100th episode is like this. I thought this episode was gonna be the 100th episode, but it was like 3 episodes ago. So yeah, um, yeah. Okay. Truly, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Truly, that's all that has been on my mind. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.